Hello, everyone. Welcome. Greetings. Give everyone a few moments to arrive and get their audio, video, Zoom things all set up. So difficult. Take it from a tech person. How is everyone this morning, this afternoon, wherever you're dialing in from? Seeing some smiles, some thumbs up. Thumbs up from Thanissara. I think this is about half of us so far. So nice to have this like virtual world. I mean, I remember when this was like exciting for a minute and then it was really draining. Now it's kind of in this like oh, it's nice to tune in with different people around the world and in our homes and whatever setting we're in. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Durton and Anika. I don't know if Anika's still with you, Durton, this morning from Namibia, tuning in. And Moira, I saw. Moira, greetings from Johannesburg. Dear old friends, welcome, welcome. And wherever anyone else is calling in from, Canada. Let's see, I guess mostly the rest of us, perhaps US.
Coast to coast, Delaware to California.
Yep.
All right. Well, why don't we start with settling? I'll lead a brief meditation before turning it over to Nisra. So wherever you are, um, invite you to find a comfortable posture. I like starting with a few deep grounding breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. Letting the breathing return to its natural rhythm in and out of the nose if that feels comfortable. You can let the gaze soften or the eyes close. Maybe tuning into sound, noticing the sound of my voice, other sounds in the space. Can you welcome them all like an old friend? And tuning into the body, what's present right now. you might like to gently scan through. Similarly, welcoming whatever sensation you do or don't find. Maybe allowing the attention to rest on a physical sensation. Lately, I've been practicing the contact between the feet and the ground, feeling that stability. Letting the body weight fall heavy. And ever so slightly guiding the attention back once I've realized it's drifted. Aware of the body, perhaps setting an intention to rest the attention here for the remainder of our time today while we listen and speak. Gently begin to open the eyes if they're closed, lifting the gaze. Just noticing, seeing, appreciating any differences in the experience, and yourselves and each other for taking a moment to pause here together. Thank you. I think I'll turn it over to you, Thanissara, whenever you'd like to begin.
Sure. Thank you so much, Andy. And welcome and greetings to everyone. Lovely to see you and to be with you. So, yeah, this is a beautiful area of focus that we're looking at today. And it's really been pitched as being contexted within the Heart Sutra, which is a very pithy text, one of the primary texts of the Prajnaparamita texts of the Buddhist lineage, from the Buddhist lineage, the Mahayana. And yeah, it's there are many different translations. I'm not going to read the whole translation. I'm going to read it also a little bit fast, as if it was like I'm in a Japanese monastery where they chanted in Japanese really, really fast. So I'm not going to go really, really fast, but I just want to give you, and it's not the whole text, so I just want to give you a flavor of the essential ideas in this text. when Avalokiteshvara is the Sanskrit for Kuan Yin, it's a Chinese transliteration directly. When Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva was practicing the profound Prajnaparamita, they illuminated the 5 skandhas and saw that they are all empty, and she crossed beyond all suffering and difficulty. Shariputra, form does not differ from emptiness. Emptiness does not differ from form. Form itself is emptiness. Emptiness itself is form. So too are feeling, cognition, formation, and consciousness. In other words, the 5 skandhas, Sariputra. All dharmas are empty of characteristics. They are not produced, not destroyed, not defiled, not pure, and neither increase nor diminish. There is no suffering, no accumulating, no extinction, no way, and no understanding, and no attaining. Because nothing is attained, the Bodhisattva, through reliance on Prajnaparamita, is unimpeded in their mind because there is no impediment. They're not afraid and leave distorted dream thinking far behind, ultimately nirvana. All Buddhas of the 3 periods of time attain Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, complete full awakening, through reliance on Prajnaparamita, the spiritual attainment of deep wisdom. Therefore, know that Prajnaparamita is a great spiritual mantra, a great bright mantra, a supreme mantra, an unequaled mantra. It can remove all suffering. It is genuine and not false. That is why the mantra Prajnaparamita was spoken, recited like this: Gate Gate, Paragate, Parasangate, Bodhisvaha. So that doesn't really make much sense. For most people on initial, I don't think the whole point of it, like a koan, is to like stick a kind of pretty strong metal or branch into the turning of the wheel of the mind. It goes clunk, 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 clunk. What does that mean? I've been practicing all these years for ending suffering, and you just blew that up in that text. So yeah, so it's not a text to try and approach, through cognitive rationale, the rationale of the mind. It's a sort of text. It's a kind of coded text. It's a leap of a text in and of itself. And so I'd like to decode it a little bit and point to its importance as a realization that really talks to a shift of consciousness, a primary shift of understanding the nature of our own deep being, according to more, I don't know if we can ever say reality as a particularly fixed thing, but more real than how we usually experience ourselves, and as beyond boundaries, beyond all the different segregations of the mind, conditionings of the mind. And also it's really why it's so profound, I feel, and very timely, is that when we look at the nature of the world that we're in and all that we're facing and the clarity that we're emerging into of the need for very radical and profound systemic shifts just to be able to sustain life on Earth, that can't really happen at the depth. Well, it can happen, but at the depth that's really needed is that those shifts are predicated on a radical shift of consciousness itself, that emerges from within each of us and is really to be realized and understood as a deeper and truer alignment with what we might call Dharma, or reality itself. So the two go together, a radical shift and awakening internally, from which the ability to shift the systems that we're in and that shape our lives more effectively and more in alignment with a deeper understanding of all of our places and the equal worth of all that is within a sacred interwoven web of being. So, and that, so that's just really something that the Heart Sutra talks to. There's a teaching from a great realized being in India, Nisargadatta, whose contemporary passed over a few decades ago, who said what the practice is, asked what's the practice, and he said, use the mind to know the mind. Use the mind to know the mind. to go beyond mind. So in a way that encapsulates the whole path. To use the mind, to know mind is a bit vipassana, the insight. We're still looking at objects. We're still looking to discern the hindrances, the path of practice, all the Buddhist templates. I mean, there is a certain way that the Heart Sutra is a bit of a dig at the formulaic way Buddhism itself structured itself in this progressive system of attainments. It kind of undermines and takes that premise away. But that's a whole other pathway we haven't got time to go down right now. But it's to see the nature of conditioning, of forms, of patterning of self, and so on, is the foundation of the path. But there's also a certain place where we need to shift beyond, to dissolve the separative consciousness itself that is built upon this sense of a me in here doing something in relationship to an object or an other out there. And that is the illusion that we operate on, but it's not actually reality, according to the Heart Sutra, according to the teaching, which actually confronts us with the premise that everything is already resident in one seamless, boundless awareness present. So to use the mind, to see the mind, but as one of the foremost disciples of the Buddha, Anuruddha, came to Sariputra actually and said, he was foremost in psychic powers, foremost in samadhi, foremost in everything, mindfulness. And he was telling Sariputra about all his accomplishments. And then he said, but I still suffer. I've done all this stuff. I've done the path. I've done it for years and decades, but I'm still not. And then so Sariputra says, that's all great. And that's all a sign of your arrogance, basically, or your sense of self. And he said, Anuruddha, turn your mind to the deathless, turn the mind back to its own nature, turn the mind to its deathless, timeless nature. And so this movement of turning back, returning home, and in a way it talks to the larger return that we need to make back to earth, if you like, back to our roots. We're off track. I remember a grandmother being told about a grandmother, because I never met them, from the Khoisan, the so-called bush people of Southern Africa, the First Nation people of Southern Africa. They call themselves the first standing there people, commenting on our civilization, saying, you're so off track, you don't even know there's a track. So it's like coming back to find that track, the returning to our deeper true nature, the returning back to earth, it's like we've forgotten. It's not, the template is there, but we're so off track. We have a vague memory, but we need to fill in the gaps of that and embody it and live it. So it's this radical, as Thanissara calls, radical reflection, radical returning. And Kuan Yin's method is to listen in to the nature, listen into the listening nature, to contemplate sound, and then who's contemplating, to listen in deeper. So the Heart Sutra is really talking about this leap beyond the cognitive frames of the mind that separate out. There's a lot of Buddhist speak, which again, haven't got time to go into, around the map of that, the structures of how so that's all very interesting. But basically this leap, this turn the mind back, turn back, this leap beyond the walls of the mind, beyond the cognitive frames, to break the spells of illusion, to find a whole different dimension of being. And it's not far that we have to look, because the Heart Sutra is saying, it often starts, actually in most translations, Iha Sariputra, which means here. In a way, you could say the whole of the Heart Sutra is just here. Be here, be here, be here. Here, Sariputra. And our amazing, profound teacher, Ajahn Chah of the northeast of Thailand, meditation master, said, we extinguish fire at the place it appears. Wherever it's hot, that's where we make it cool. And so it is with enlightenment. Nibbana is found in samsara. basically saying it's all this mind. It's all this mysterious mind. Everything is within this mind sphere. So where it's hot, where there's dukkha, right there is the freedom from the transformation of dukkha, the response and the ability to overcome dukkha, whether it's internal and personal or whether it's in the collective. And was said by another great realized being in ancient India, the greater the obstruction, the greater the blaze of enlightenment. So on a planetary level, I'm slightly shifting sets and moving around here in different templates. We have a huge blaze of fire. So we're either going to burn down or we're going to have to take a leap. And the leap is as significant, as profound as the first moment that we sort of crawled out the ponds, apparently, from the, the beginning of the evolutionary process, if that's the model that we frames our reality, which seems to be a collective understanding. And I have no biological argument with that because I don't have no idea, but it makes sense to me that at some point we crawled out of sort of swampy ponds. And that was a huge moment. And in some ways, what we're talking about, if we're going to survive, that's what is needed, is some, but it's within our ability. But the pressure that's building to push, it's like that birth canal, it's like, it's like we're going to either die or we're going to shift. That none of us are out of this. We're all in this collective stew and pressure cooker together, and it's awful. It's creating this absolutely psychotic response around the world. We're seeing it vividly. Massive violence, massive division, fear, all of it, all the ancestral wounds, all of it's up, and really it is a battle of light and shadow on many, many, many different levels. And subtle levels, this level, human level. And the thing about light is, and it's not necessarily visual light, it's inner light, the eye of Dharma, is that we have to really see clearly the shadow before we can actually not be fooled by it and not be shaped by it. And a lot of the struggle that we're in is to really name what we're facing and the denial and deflections around that, distortions around that, by the powers that be, for reasons that they're still caught up in an ego consciousness that wants to basically plunder the last living thing, regardless of the consequences. So it's, in the Dharma, we're activating the eye of Dharma to see clearly, to see the nature and to name clearly what we're facing so that we then have the tools to meet that. If we're still in some confusion and delusion, then we weaken our power to respond effectively. So it's fierce. This is fierce. But this whole way that where we've gotten to is predicated on a lack of seeing, a lack of, not just, I'm not seeing as the translation, but really the prajna, the avijja paccaya sankhara, the vidya, the not seeing, avijja paccaya conditions this movement into separative consciousness, not under the mind, not understanding its true nature as seamless, as within which everything is intimately known and presence. There's nothing outside this mind. This mind, not knowing this as its true nature, leans into this sense of something that I have to become, be, attain, move with. That's a shaping sankhara, the sankhara samskara, that shape that automatically starts to separate out, that separative movement. And between within that separative movement, the whole drama of our human story, which is like really interesting, lots of it on Netflix, watch it every night, it's endless and interesting, but it's also very fraught, it's predicated upon massive amounts of delusion and fear and desire and also creativity and beauty and art and all the rest of it. But to leap beyond, this is a Heart Sutra, to leap beyond that wall is really to understand that really this whole engine of samsara, of separative consciousness, it's upon that's predicated this hierarchy of worth, hierarchy of who has power, who doesn't, when in reality it's not that everything is equal, everything is different, but the equality is that everything has its place. And that place has to be respected, and even the shadow has its place within the evolutionary process of transformation. But how do we meet that? And how do we understand that if we are not seeing that clearly, our own personal shadow, our own collective shadow is just really being projected out. So what we're seeing often is this battle with our own shadow, which we can never win. Or the way we're trying to win it through massive violence just generates more violence. So, it's this deep journey of healing and integration. It's very profound, which we have to kind of speed up. We haven't got a lot of time here, to spend 30 years on a therapist cushion or on our zafu. So this leap, this stop the war internally is to really dissolve this separative consciousness in our practice and to start to live as if we are actually, which we are in a deeply sensitive, conscious, speaking world where everything is conscious and aware and present in relationship to everything else. Everything is entangled. Everything is revealing its nature. So in that intimate heart of the Heart Sutra, the Heart Sutra is a plunge from the cognitive separative mind into the unfettered heart, the unobstructed heart, the timeless heart, which is the seed and core of every being, to be realized, to be known, to be tasted directly, and in doing so, to be liberated. So that plunge is to really enter a very formless territory, a very mysterious territory that's filled with potentiality and deep, the prajna paramita, the leap, the trusting, the prajna paramita is really to trust this deep knowing intuitive intelligence of that which knows before it separates out into self and other. Prajna literally means that which is before we know things through, because we have a language for it. Either ourself or another is the knowing that's intimate. It's the Kuan Yin knowing where everything is intimately known because it is in a way part of ourselves. There's nothing outside of that, of this awareness, if we understand ourselves as awareness. So this mystery, as said by the grandfather of quantum theory, Sir Arthur Eddington, he said, this physical world is entirely abstract and is without actuality apart from its linkage to consciousness. So everything has this linkage to consciousness. And from that perspective, he says, it's a primitive form of thought to think something exists or does not exist. And this is where we see the Heart Sutra really fusing with quantum theory. Events do not happen, he said. They just simply are, and we come across them. In brief, something unknown is doing we don't know what. That is what our theory amounts to. And I think really this is like, this is the inside of the Heart Sutra, really. It's like, that's why it gives up on words. It just goes, here we are, you want to explain it? You want to try and say why we we have libraries full of why and what, but really it's a mystery. It's a mystery, so it's bowing into that mystery that's alive, that's present, what Ajahn Chah called the living Dharma, and letting it unfold the task we have at hand, which is, and I realize I'm working at speed against here across the clock. I mean, we could spend this is a year's like this is a lifetime unpackaging, but I have a minute or two to wrap up. So
You
our
can go as
curriculum.
long as you'd like to,
Okay,
Mr.
well,
This
maybe
is great.
5 minutes and then we'll wrap up. So this curriculum, we have fast shifted, like warp speed, in Star Trek, we're like, okay, let's warp speed down one of those wormholes into having to really understand that the shift has to be internal. And that internal shift, this is, I think, where the Buddhist thing tends to be a bit slow in has to express itself externally, as the Buddha did, through actual action, through actually engaging, and he did change systems. He was I mean, people try to kill him for it. So it's understandable that it's a bit daunting to do. People don't like change at that level, the comfort. That has to happen. So I just want to, like, what might that look like? So I want to just briefly, in the few minutes I have, just to draw on the work of Al-Noor Ladar, who's a systems thinker, where he talks about this, what does this curriculum look like externally? Well, here's a few markers. So there's a trans-rational logic, if you like, from the rationality of time, linear time, solutions based on that, to an intuitive non-separative awareness, a movement from intuitive non-separative awareness, from historical amnesia, looping through endless rounds of ancestral trauma, to remembrance, clear understanding of what's brought us here, repair and reparation, and ancestral liberation, which can also happen through ceremony, transference of blessings, deep prayer. From separation, soulless materialism, to a Gaian cosmology of interbeing, where everything is alive and we're connected and we belong. From unquestioned orthodoxies of power to self-empowerment, citizens' assemblies in Extinction Rebellion, engaged responsibility. From competition and hoarding wealth, which is basically we're running the planet for billionaires right now, it's not going to work very well, not working very well already, to service, solidarity, equitable sharing. From transactional ways of relating based on trauma to recultivation of our mutual life force, our creativity, our beauty, our love. From entitlement and entrustment to bureaucracy and the holding and storing of capital, to the engagement with beauty, to the free sharing and releasing of hoards of capital, to equitable sharing and so on. And there's so much more to say about this, really, but I think it's a very exciting territory to really explore. How do these inner shifts of awakening translate into external? It's not just a system. The system arises from the embodiment that we all carry, the energy we all carry internally as we start to embody that shift consciously. And then the way we speak, the way we engage, the mysterious way that we're then starting to work as a cog in the wheel of this sacred, mysterious consciousness and aliveness of nature itself, and being embedded in that. That it's not me as an individual trying to sort it all out. It arises what needs to happen next, and people will come into view, things will happen. We're part of this, we're part of something bigger. And to live that is a great sense of beauty and joy, and even in the midst of a world burning down, and we don't have to burn down with it. I mean, hopefully we won't burn down with it, but a lot is burning down. And so these shifts need to, we need to sort of get, well, it's happening. It's happening because the pressure is building. So those are a few thoughts, and I'm just going to leave you. I wanted to try and finish with some poetic. I actually feel the Heart Sutra is a poem rather than a linear, rational ABC teaching. It's a kind of a gestalt thing. You just go boof and you go, I don't know what this is, but you hang out with it like a poem. And I think one of the most profound poets, someone that born a few hundred years ago or so, 150 years ago, Rainer Maria Rilke. I'm just going to take a breath because it was all very quick, and I'm sorry that it was for you on the receiving end. But I just want to read his words. They're so beautiful. And I think it really encapsulates our curriculum for this time. And I'll put it in the chat too after. Everything terrible is something that needs our love. Our task is to take this earth so deeply and wholly into ourselves that it will resurrect within our being. Where something becomes extremely difficult and unbearable, there we must also stand, always ready quite near its transformation. One moment your life is a stone, and the next moment a star. In all of this, may you find in yourself enough patience to endure and enough simplicity to have faith. So I'll leave it there for now. And yeah, the Heart Sutra is a leap of faith. Okay, so I just put that quote. And over to you, Andy, to take us on.
Wow. Thank you so much, Thanissara. Yeah, let's sit for a few moments and let this word settle. Mm. I'm, I'm speechless. So I think I will keep my words limited. Moving to our interactive portion. Encourage and welcome everyone to stay. If there is anyone who doesn't wish to participate in the interactive session, you might drop off so I can organize the breakout room. It looks like we're at 18, 17. Thanissara, why don't I'll put you and I each in a room just since we're kind of smaller, 16. Maybe we'll do little 15. Hey, while we're losing numbers, we're gaining intimacy. Turning stones to stars here. Okay, 15 looks like it. Let's do, what do you think? Like 3 rooms of 5? 4 rooms of 4 and change? What do you think, Thanissara?
I'm not really good at math. It would take me like the whole time to work that out. So I'm going to leave that to your brain to do that leap.
We'll do 4 rooms with an odd number in one of them. 4 rooms. Let's hopefully Thanissara and I don't end up in the same room. Hold on, I messed something up here. Breakout rooms. Okay. Here goes nothing. Oh, why are we going to a breakout room? That's useful to mention. Yeah, honestly, I think let's just reflect on the words Thanissara just shared. Like she said, I feel like we could go forever talking about it. And so let's say it'll be 40. Let's do 10 minutes. So kind of be about it, 3 minutes for the groups of 3, 2.5 minutes for the groups of 4, and then we'll come back on the 50 mark. Introduce yourself, be mindful to, around crosstalk and all that kind of fun stuff. And I think most of us have done this before. So here we go. Welcome back. Hey, buddy. This is Barkley, our special guest here. He's already realized he'd already heard all that stuff Thanissara said earlier. Mm. Mm. Here come our friends. Hey everyone. Thank you so much. Welcome back. How was it? I think let's spend most of the rest of our time. We can kind of engage as a group. Anyone who wants to share anything from your group that was meaningful for you that you'd like to share with the group you think is relevant, you can just feel free to unmute and have at it.
You can also put in chat if you a little bit shy.
Yep. Well, Barkley and I had a lovely conversation, contemplating Prajnaparamita. Yeah, Kristen.
I said this in my lovely group and also heard it from, I think in a way, everyone in the group, that, I've been feeling, I was saying I'm doing a writing project and also have a 2.5-year-old. The writing project has to do with what's happening for children like across the world, and just this sense of it's getting worse. I mean, both Palestine, but it's going to get worse for them, and the sort of terror of that. While also, I think part of what you were describing about, that sort of dialectic in a way between it's burning, but there is the possibility of something profound actually moving because it is so exposed how destructive it is, what we've been doing. And I think I was just wrestling with how to hold both, not use that sense of possibility to bypass the terror, which I really appreciate. I hear that so much in the way that you describe things, like not bypassing, but also not collapsing. So I guess I'm grateful for that, being able to hear that in you.
Thank you, Kristen. Someone else have any reflection they'd like to share from their group or from the talk or from your life? And there's no pressure, of course. Yeah.
Hello. I was in the group with Kristen, and the quality, I feel like just what we're doing, even though it's all very intense and concentrated, this quality today of all of this coming in close and feeling maybe we don't have the time, but I just feel it's very potent. And so even though we were just talking for little bits, it's like all of these new life and springs kind of like trees, underneath a lot of different connections being woven. And as I mentioned, I'm just coming off of a long, long period of silent retreat right now. And actually, I see one of the fellow retreatants who I didn't know before in this group. So Dee, I feel like you're one of those threads that we're knitting, and to be together in silence this long and holding this. And she was the first person who came up afterwards and just hugged me. And we're in here, and it's I feel like all of this is a lot of what we're talking about, what you said, Thanissara, and actually what I feel very strongly is like we've been pushed and positioned in the fire right at that burn line. I live in California, and you have burns, but you control burns and you position that, and it's constantly changing. And for some people, it looks like scars, and for other people from above, it looks like oh no, they're just the new pathways of how we're evolving. And I just feel that the actions we're taking are what we're coming into, that somehow we are guided, but deeply grateful for the longstanding Sangha or the longstanding people holding this. So those of us who are new can come in as well and then just see how this opens up and when we have to be more concentrated. So thank you deeply. And this is where I'm coming from. And I miss you, Dee.
I miss you too.
It's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Go ahead, Thanissara.
No, it's just Anna Marie and Christian. Thank you so much for beautiful sharings.
Yeah. I'll begin some closing words in our last few minutes here. Thanissara and I have really enjoyed doing these, and the collaboration and lead up and during and after, and all the dialogue and the thought, and this will probably take a little bit of a pause in these gatherings, moving into the new year, as she and I each head into our sort of taking sort of all this that's been stirred up. Like, I feel like you really articulated it nicely, Anna Marie, like kind of, and just now tending to some of these new plants and flowers and seeds. And we're here. I'll send out a link in the follow-up through Sacred Mountain Sangha, SMS, sacredmountainsangha.org. There are weekly Sunday Sanghas gatherings. There's Monday through Friday, a chanting at 7 a.m. Pacific, the Kuan Yin Dharmas that Thanissara is leading, and a call for peace. I host a weekly group on my side. There's all sorts of things. So if you're looking to keep this type of thing going, fret not, we're here. Just sort of a little bit of a pause on this exact format, and who knows what's next when, we just don't know. But a deep bow to each and every one of you for showing up, for your practice. It's everyone. So many people have said it so beautifully. We're both in the middle of all of this, and we're in the middle of all this, and it's great to do it together. So thank you all.
Thank you so much, Andy, and thank you for being willing to actually be the inspirator and host. I mean, I know we're hosting the platform, but since we started early in the year of pitching this discussion around inner shifts and the relationship to outer shifts, and such a rich focus for us in these times when the urgency of that is increasing and the complexity of it is vast. But I love this idea of shifting of lens, and what looks terrible, the shift of lens can look at, it's sort of like the sickness coming out. It's almost like a homeopathic thing, that the sickness comes out, but underneath that it's allowing a truer health to emerge. It's just a very high stake strategy on behalf of the planet, or whatever force, that mysterious force. It's like, wow, you really we really put ourselves really in this. We've put ourselves at this moment to challenge ourselves to make that shift. So I think the only thing, I feel, it really has to be collective. We can't, it's not an individual enterprise. So that collaborative, collective approach. And so thank you for Andy and everyone for, and all of us for being part of this and learning to speak to it.
Thank you, Thanissara. That's a big thank you to Thanissara for putting together these beautiful talks and leading us and being here. Thank you all.
Okay. Go well, everyone. Stay well. Much love.
Take good care. Bye.